If you're gaining weight on prednisone but your Crohn's is still flaring, you're dealing with the worst of both worlds. And I need you to know, this is not your fault, and it's also not something you have to just accept. Hi, I'm Kate, and today we're talking about what to do when steroids are giving you all the side effects but none of the relief. And this matters because staying on steroids longer than necessarily, especially when they're not working, carries real risks, and you deserve a clear plan forward. I've watched my son go through this exact scenario. Week 3 on prednisone, his face was rounding out, he couldn't sleep, he was hungry all the time, and he was still running to the bathroom 6 times a day. And I'll never forget him looking at me and saying, "Mum, what is the point? I feel worse than before I started." As a natural therapist working with Crohn's families, I do see this pattern constantly. You start steroids hoping for quick relief. The first week, maybe you feel a bit better, then the flare pushes back, but the steroid side effects keep building. There's weight gain, mood swings, insomnia, the moon phase, and you're stuck in this awful middle ground where you're getting sicker and dealing with drug side effects at the same time. It's demoralizing. And it's a sign that something needs to change. Here's what most people don't understand. Steroids are a bridge. They're not the destination. Prednisone is designed to be a short-term tool, usually 8 to 12 weeks maximum, to calm inflammation quickly while you and your doctor figure out the longer-term plan. It's not meant to be your maintenance therapy. When you're gaining weight but still flaring, that's your body telling you that this bridge isn't holding. The inflammation is stronger than the steroid dose you're on, or your disease has progressed to a point where steroids alone aren't enough. Now, this isn't a personal failure. It's not because you ate the wrong thing or you didn't rest enough. It's clinical information. Your disease is active despite steroid treatment, and that changes what needs to happen next. The real question isn't, how do I manage steroid side effects better? The real question is, why am I still on steroids when they're clearly not working, and what's the next step? And that's what we're going to walk through today. The practical questions to ask your gastroenterologist, the things you can control while you're figuring this out, and the decision points that tell you it's time to escalate treatment. So, step 1. Have the honest conversation with your GI this week. If you're past week 2 or 3 on steroids and you're still symptomatic, you need to talk to your GI now, not at your next scheduled appointment, but now. Here are the specific questions to ask. I'm on day X of prednisone. I'm experiencing these side effects. Make sure you list them. But I'm still having however many bowel movements a day. Pain, blood, whatever your symptoms are. What's our plan if the steroids aren't working? Are we considering increasing the dose, or is it time to talk about adding or switching to a different medication? And this question's important. How long are you comfortable keeping me on steroids if I'm not seeing improvement? Most GIs will not want you on prednisone longer than 8 to 12 weeks in total. And if you're not responding well, they should be thinking about your next move by week 3 or 4. If your doctor seems comfortable leaving you on them indefinitely while you're still flaring, that's a red flag. You may need a second opinion. When my son wasn't responding by week 3, our GI said, "Right, steroids have done what they can do. We need to add something stronger." That's the conversation you're looking for. Now, step 2. Manage the side effects you can control while you're still on steroids. You can't stop the weight gain entirely while you're on prednisone. It's a direct drug effect. But you can minimize how much extra weight you gain and how terrible you feel. So here's what actually helps. Protein at every meal. Prednisone makes you ravenously hungry and spikes your blood sugar. Protein slows that down. My son lived on scrambled egg, chicken, protein smoothies, whatever he could tolerate. It didn't stop the hunger, but it kept him from eating everything inside and crashing an hour later. Reduce added salt. Steroids make you retain fluid. You don't need to eat a salt-free diet because that's miserable and unnecessary, But skip the extra salt on your food and avoid really salty processed foods. It makes a noticeable difference in how puffy you feel. Move your body gently if you can. Even a 10-minute walk helps with the mood swings, the restless energy, and the blood sugar spikes. I'm not talking about training for a marathon. I'm talking about moving enough that you don't feel like you're crawling out of your skin. When my son couldn't walk, he'd do stretches in bed. Something is better than nothing. And sleep hygiene becomes non-negotiable. Prednisone wrecks your sleep, and poor sleep makes everything worse. Your appetite, mood, your pain tolerance. Blackout curtains, no screens an hour before bed, magnesium glycinate if your doctor okays it. Do whatever you can to protect your sleep. These things won't fix the fact that steroids aren't working, but they'll help you feel slightly more human while you're sorting out the next step. Step 3. Understand the decision points, when to escalate. There are clear markers that tell you it's time to move beyond steroids, so here's what to watch for. If you're not seeing significant improvements by week 2 or 3, that's your first decision point. Some people respond slower, but if you're still running to the bathroom constantly, still in pain, still seeing blood, steroids aren't cutting it. Time to talk about adding or switching medication. If you start to improve and then flare again while still on steroids, that's a big red flag. It means the inflammation is breaking through and you need stronger disease control. If your doctor wants to keep you on steroids past 12 weeks, ask why. Long-term steroid use carries serious risk: bone density loss, increased infection risk, blood sugar problems, mood disorders. If the answer is we're just waiting to see if they work, that is not a plan. You need a plan. If you've been on steroids multiple times in the past year, that's called steroid-dependent disease, and it's a sign that your maintenance therapy isn't working. You need a medication adjustment, not another round of prednisone. When my son GI told us he needed to start a biologic, I was actually scared. I think most parents are. But she said something that stuck with me. Kate,